How we doing? Friday, June 30th, 1 p.m. here on the East Coast. 5 things I'm watching today, getting ready for the long weekend. Let's go to China. Bloomberg has a story with the headline, China's economic woes are multiplying and Xi Jinping has no easy fix. Things to think about here. 3 things. China took a different approach coming out of COVID. The U.S. and the West really dumped a lot of cash into the system. The Chinese really restricted, held back, didn't do that. There's also a hangover from the recession, the great financial crisis in 08-09, where the Chinese dumped a lot of money, a lot of infrastructure spending into the economy, and that really got things going. There was a lot more foreign investment, a lot more infrastructure, especially around rail tracks being built. But that's left a bit of a hangover that the Communist Party doesn't want to follow again. And the third thing is, frankly, the Chinese have kind of done all the easy stuff. That is, if you're going to modernize and build a new country, laying down a bunch of railroad tracks, building infrastructure, building construction, pouring cement, easy way to stimulate the economy. All that's really been kind of built out. So how do you try to figure this out going forward? It's going to be a big party for the challenge. And the energy and the dynamism, how do you create that, is not really in the forte of the Communist Party, especially in the last few years. They've kind of reined in the entrepreneurial class, the merchant class, and the parties at the top. So watch for that. There's going to be more and more stories. The data is not great. The economy is sluggish. And, since India now has the biggest population in the world, it's a challenge for the party. Speaking of challenge for the party, James Cleverly, he's the United Kingdom foreign minister, UK foreign minister, James Cleverly, was speaking yesterday at the Chatham House, the think tank there in London, basically making the case for more countries to be permanent members of the UN Security Council. Right now there are 5, China, the United States, UK, France, and Russia are the 5, the P5 they call them. They're the permanent members of the UN Security Council. But clearly there's a desire to get more people involved that have permanent seats. Certainly there's been calls for Japan to get involved. We spoke about India, this idea of the global south, Africa having representation. So this is good diplomacy too. You got especially countries like the UK and France, which at the time, post-World War II, it may have made sense, but they're nowhere near the economic powerhouses they were then. And the world's shifted, and the world's going to continue to shift. And more younger populations are in Africa, especially countries like Nigeria and India, now having the largest population in the world, definitely wants a seat. They're kind of the gateway to the global south, this kind of new buzzword. So look for more talk about that. I suspect something will happen. A lot of politics. I mean, does China really want to give up power to Japan and India? Probably not. But does the US, UK, and France want to make India and Japan happy? Yes. So watch for how that plays out. Speaking of Japan, they are looking to expand their diplomatic corps. Article here from the Financial Times. Japan looks to expand diplomatic corps and overseas charm offensive soft power push. They're looking to add 8,000 more staff to the foreign ministry. Great way to engage other worlds. Much more of a push here in the West, which is this idea of corporate diplomacy, public-private partnerships, where governments are working with private companies to stimulate the economy. So Japan making a big push, looking to add 8,000 more members to their diplomatic corps. Big news yesterday, Supreme Court striking back at basically taking emissions around affirmative action. They combined 2 cases. Harvard, the oldest private institution in the United States, and UNC, University of North Carolina, the oldest public institution, by a 6-3 decision. They radically are going to change the emissions processes. Basically, you can't make race front and center in efforts to diversify universities. So what this means, how it's going to play out, I certainly think there'll be more lawsuits. You'll probably see more activity at the state level to guarantee that. But the current situation has been deemed illegal, and I suspect there'll be dual tracks where there'll be more legislation and litigation on one side, and the other side, colleges will continue to seek to be much more diverse, as the population, frankly, generally is happening anyways. But you'll see them staying in the line, creating other ways to make sure they've got a diverse academic body. Finally, Jason Gay, he's a columnist with the Wall Street Journal. Jason Gay, columnist, sports columnist with the Wall Street Journal. got a great, he's a big cycle fan himself, and tomorrow, the first stage of the Tour de France kicks off July 1st in Spain before they head over to France. But he's got a profile piece here, what he's calling the Bo Jackson of the Tour de France, Belgium's Wout van Aert. He, Jason's saying he's not going to win the race, but he's definitely a dynamic cyclist. What's interesting is some of the younger cyclists, some of the more talented, just pure bicycle athletes come from this world of what's called cyclocross, which is essentially a combination of mountain biking and street racing. They race flat handlebar bikes, but they race them on cobblestones in the mud. And, they're kind of tricksters with all kinds of parts of the bike, feel comfortable racing anywhere. And he's a guy to watch, going to create some interesting activity. He's from Belgium, and Belgium's cycle mad. So good profile there on Wout van Aert. And if you haven't, Tour de France, getting ready for it. The Netflix show Tour de France Unchained is a recap of last year's race done by the same people that do Drive to Survive, box to box. It's a great, I think 8 to 10, maybe 8 episodes. Kind of plow through it, get ready for it, and but takes you behind the scenes, just like Drive to Survive. Get to know the racers, get to know the course, get to know the managers, people putting this together, and really pulls back the curtain on what it's like to race in the Tour de France. That's all we got for today. We're gonna see you. I'm on hiatus, and we'll be back. I guess I don't know, the 10th, whatever, the Monday after next Monday. Ciao.